sure, please? Come sit down again. That's Spanish people, they're so cold.
This one has a D80.
You can take up a brown bar. Hello?
Okay, so we're talking about the din of shlichus yad. Oh, the pamphlets should be there in the open closet, on the top shelf there. No, it's in the next one. In the next one. So we're talking about the shlichus yad, which is in Reish Side Phase. I want to go fast today. I want to give it a little overview, okay, so we can cover some of that. Again, the idea is I tell the shir the violation of being a shomer. When you're a shomer, you're obligated to be careful how you're watching the items that they're giving you. Someone's giving you something to watch, you have to be careful how you're watching it. The minute that you use it for yourself, which is not the way it was intended for you to watch, and you're using it for yourself, you become a gazlan. You become a gazlan on the entire thing. And we said, more or less, there are three ways that can happen. One is, stole it, you stole it. You had in mind to take the entire thing for yourself and keep it and not give it back to the owner. So you're straight up a gazlan. Number two is, you had in mind to take it and use some of it and return the rest. So we said an example, you were watching a guy's bottle, you brought it to a, one mahal, you just picked it up, Aldas to drink it and you're done. Number two is, you picked it up and you made a kinyan. Aldas, you were going to make a few l'chaims and put the rest down. And look, I'll pay him for whatever, I took a third of the bottle, I'll pay him for that third. But the other 2/3 is I'm still a shomer on it. And then on the way to the simcha, the whole thing cracked, and it's a couple $100 bottle. You have to pay back the entire thing, not just the part that you meant to steal, which is a third of the bottle, but you became a gazlan on the entire thing. And the third case is you became a shoyel shaloi midas, which means you intended on giving the entire thing back, but you took it al das to use it, and then put it back. So that would be a good example by a case of a bottle. The Gemara's case is you took a barrel of wine, and instead of drinking from it, your das was to bring it outside and use it as a ladder. You took the bottle outside, you're going to climb on it, go on top of the roof, do what you got to do, and then put it back. So you never were going to take any of the wine, but you were misusing the barrel. There also you're shol midas, you're a shoyel shaloi midas, you're borrowing it without the proper rishus, and you're also a gazlan. In all of those cases, you become a gazlan. What's the difference between a gazlan and a shomer? So a very big difference. A shomer is only chayiv if he's negligent. A gazlan is chayiv anointing. What? How
about for credit purposes?
Meaning, let's say you took cash?
No, let's say, you're establishing credit with the company and say, you know what, I have it right here, I have 500 barrels of wine, you could trust me, and the next month he says, you know what, I have 1,000 barrels of wine, all these wines are actually not yours, but this company is giving you credit, they're giving you
if you never made a kinyan on it, and you just showed it to him, then you didn't steal from the guy that gave you the barrels. You're not a gazlan from him. You're gazlan from the guy that gave you the loan.
That's the name of stops.
You're gazlan from the guy that gave you the loan. Because he only gave you the loan on das that you had wine and you don't. So your stomach got it, but you're not got it from him, you got it from him. Right? You deceived the Now, next week, that's what I want to move through to get to Sivzai. Next week we're gonna talk about money. Somebody gives you money to watch, that's a very interesting sugya. Are you allowed to now borrow the money, use the money, whatever, I have money in an account somewhere. I just don't want to take it out now, but this is cash, so what does he care if I use it and I'll pay him back with other cash? Does he really care that he wants me to have dafka these dollar bills, right? So when it comes to cash, we have to see how that works. Cash, someone gave you money to borrow, right? Okay, you bring this $10,000 cash with you to Israel, right? Right? So, Ma'aseh B'Cholim that people ask, I don't know if it's Ma'aseh B'Cholim people do it, but, okay, so now on the way, what are you allowed to do with that money? What are you allowed to do with that money on the way? Right? Like use it. And hopefully we'll get to that next week. What's your question?
What about a non-consumable? You're watching somebody's toolbox.
Right,
And
so-
when you took the tools, you had no intention to use it.
You're right to.
But, or right to. But all of a sudden you need a specific tool. You don't have it. You look in the toolbox. He has it. You use it and put it back. Is that Goslin?
So that's a shol shumidas. You became a goslin. You became a goslin by doing that. But it's the third category, and not the first two. Right? The first two categories are that you're actually making him lose something. Either you're taking the entire barrel, or you're going to drink two l'chaims. So he's losing something. You become a goslin on the entire thing. This is a different type of goslin. It's called a shoyel shalom midas. You're borrowing something without his das. And even though you start off as a shoymer, you become a goslin. We're going to see now in the Ramah that there's a difference between the two types of goslin. The Shach asks on that, but there's no difference. And we're going to see a nice yishuv from the Pesach Tshuva to answer the question if there is a difference or no difference, okay? That's the setup right now that we're talking about. So these are the two types of goslin. So let's look at Siv Beis, which in your pamphlet is on page 24. No, I'm sorry, no it's not. It's on page 40. Siv Aleph. So it's on page 44. Let's just say from there. We'll start from the beginning. You're not allowed to use a pikadon. If you did, even if you're not planning to steal it. But to use it, it becomes in your under your jurisdiction completely. And now you're chayv, anything happens to it. Even if you didn't end up using it, the kinyan made you into a goslin. You don't actually have to use it. But the minute you took it with the intention to use it, you become a goslin. This is your case, Shul. We picked it up to take something, a use which is not mechaser it.
Doesn't consume it.
Doesn't consume it. Good. You're not chayiv on that item just because you picked it up. I took the hammer. I'm about to use it. So if you would have taken the bottle of schnapps, al das to drink 2 ounces, you already got it. Even if you didn't end up drinking the 2 ounces, because you picked it up. But the hammer is different. You picked up the hammer al das to use it. You only become a goslin when you use it. So this is one difference, is if your gzela was you were actually going to consume it, then you become a goslin from the time you took it, al das, to consume it. But if your das was to use it, then you only become a goslin when you use it. But then the Ramah says a very interesting difference. So this guy's, right now, he's up a creek. Because once you took this bottle, right, there's some very expensive bottles out there, right? So some of our friends have some of them, right? So there's some very expensive stuff out there. You took it, you couldn't halzachaim, you had this big simcha, you made a l'chaim with this guy's bottle, and you're like, look, you made a cheshbon, 2 l'chaims I can afford. I'll pay this guy back his 2 l'chaims. You now are chayv and oinsim on the whole bottle. If anything ever happens to that bottle, right, even if you were negligent, you have to pay back for the whole bottle. So how do you undo this problem now? How do you undo this? You're a goslin now. You don't want to be a goslin anymore. A goslin has a lot of achrayas on the item. So how do you become unganed? How do you undo your gzela now?
Buy a new bottle.
If you could buy a new bottle, then you wouldn't be taking his. You obviously, how do you undo this gzela?
If you're gonna do tshuva, what else can you do?
How do you undo the answer is you have to return to him the rest of the bottle. Pay for what you took, but you return to him the rest of it. But he's not here. If he would be here, he wouldn't be giving you the bottle. He went off somewhere, right? He's traveling, so he's out of town.
Yeah, but he's gonna come back at
Yeah, when he comes back, I don't want this achrayas until he comes back. So I would say, just put it back to the closet where it was. Go back, just put it back in the closet. The answer is no, because once you're a goslin, there's a much more strict rules on how you return something. A goslin, if you stole something from someone, right? You go into the house, you went in, you stole their watch, Now you do, okay, tshuva, whatever, or either tshuva or you already went to the event that you were trying to impress the people at. So you already can, you don't mind anymore. So now you go ahead and you know what, I'm going to go back in the middle of the night and put back the watch. That's not called returning it. Returning it has to be al das the bailim. You have to tell the owner I'm putting it back. So here, you became a gazlan on the barrel, or you became a gazlan on the tools, let's say. So how do you return it? You have to actually tell the owner.
So you tell him that's fine?
If you tell him, and then he says fine, but I would imagine if you tell him, he's going to say, well then give it to find a good shomer, I don't trust you anymore.
You have to tell him that you stole it, or you just tell him you returned it?
Well,
Then
what are you telling me exactly?
I'm telling you-
by the way,
just give you
just
an
so you update, your
update.
bottle is safe and sound in the closet.
Exactly.
You know, it happens to be the night after my daughter's birth, but I'm just letting you know that the bottle's safe and sound. You know?
Does it matter what the shimush is that you're using it for? I mean,
Yeah, so far, we're saying there's three types of shimushim. Total gzela, amenas l'shloach, bayaj, like 2 ounces of the bottle. And then there's Shmuel's case, which is no, you're not consuming it, you're just using it.
What if I just want people to, in his case with the hammer, I just want people to think I'm handy, so I put a hammer on it.
No, so I don't think that may not be a problem. 'Cause you're not really.
I just want, meaning like you, I just want people coming to my party to think I have money, so I take the bottle and I put it on, look at the bottle.
Well, in Islama, that's okay. If you lift it in your house.
Because
if
you
you
were
took it out of the
machazir.
house, you made a mashicha, maybe that's a problem. What?
Because you were Mechaser, it's true.
Right.
So,
Right. So this is the chiddush of the shach. So look at the shach. The shach says,
Right,
"V'im-"
halacha reminds us, someone steals
They're
something,
almighty.
forget about Shmira. Someone steals something and then returns it, and the person never knew that he stole it and returns it.
we have
He
we
doesn't-
learned from Rabbi Akiva that a gzela requires das bailim to return it. It's machlokes Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel. We pass
The
it.
Gzela itself required as well? Did he have
Yeah.
to know that it was stolen?
No. Gzela doesn't, but returning does. You have to. The bailim has to know this back in the drashos. So, if you im hechazir, look at the Ramah on page 46. It's in the middle of the page. The Ramah. Im hechazir l'makom shenaklu misham. Once you return it to the place, chazar liyois dinoi kishomer. You're back to being a shomer. You're safe and sound. Now you're not a gazan anymore. V'lo habe alav mitchila rak shoel b'am, because you just borrowed it. Like Shmuel's case, I just took the hammer. I used it. Now I want to put it back. So, just put it back. So you see that there's this long shach on the side? So the shach goes on and on and on, saying this is a very shver ramah. Because that's not the halacha. The halacha is, you can't just put it back and say, I'm not a gazlan anymore. Once you became a gazlan, you have to put it back with his das. You have to tell him the whole story. You can't just use the hammer and put it back and be like nothing happened. So the shach, if you look at this long shach on the bottom, the last line of this shach is aleph. He says, Hilkach, therefore, kol zman she'en lanu yishuv bar, if I can't understand the Ramah, ein banu koyach lufsoi kedivrei harav b'zeh k'neged hashas. We cannot pass it like this Ramah, it's k'neged the shas. So the shach mamash goes on and on to argue on this Ramah. So according to this, it comes out that if you did this and you violated your Shmira, comes out, you can't go back to being a shomer unless you tell the owner, and then you tell him and you say, by the way, I'm putting it back. So this is very, very big deal because what happens is a guy goes away for the summer. Your case, he has stuff. He has his backyard stuff. He doesn't want to leave it in his backyard. He has his kid's bike or something. Whatever. He has something, and then you go ahead and used it once without asking him. Now you're a gazlan, and now anything happens to that, you're a cry on. Possibly even a change in value. It's a very high level of responsibility. So you became a gazan, and the only way to undo that is telling him, by the way, I used it, but I put it back. Don't worry, it's fine.
And if you didn't
And
tell
not
him,
only
then you
that-
become chayev b'nointzin.
Yeah, you're still chayev b'nointzin.
Chayev b'nointzin.
Yeah, right.
if you're a Shomer Sacher, you take his money, that's also Geneva.
We'll talk about
Because
money.
you're not a Shomer anymore. No,
We'll
he's
talk
saying,
about money
no,
next
I'm
week.
talking about use the bike, you're, right? Or he's asking you to watch the bike, you use the bike, or you're a ganef now, right? You're a whole
Even if you're
different
Shomer
bar shop,
Sacher, yeah.
right? But now you're out of the halachas of
Right, now you're
Shmira,
Gazlan.
right? You're a Gazlan. Then he comes out and says, thanks for watching my bike, here's $100.
Oh.
You're a ganef for taking the $100.
Right, probably not if you
Right.
Are you allowed to quit your Shmira? Just tell them that, like, because like at this point I can tell them, listen, I don't want to watch it anymore. If you want to let me watch it, then
And you don't have to want to watch it. You're gazlan. You have a
I'm putting
chiyuv
the new bottle in. I could quit my Shmira, call them up and tell them I don't want to be a Shomer anymore.
I'm not sure you're a gazlan. How are you undoing your gzela? You stole this thing, and you have to do the Heshevus Gzela. If you don't do Heshevus Gzela, you have to pay the whole bottle. It's very chomer. I mean, this is again, now, this is one of those things, by the way, that it doesn't help to say, like one of our things that we learned this whole Zman is that the main thing that we learned from this whole learning of Shomer is that when you borrow something, say, I'm not a Shomer. But for this, it won't help. Because even if you're not a Shomer, if you
Yeah,
stole
I'm
it,
not a
you stole it. Right? You're going to say, I'm a Shomer, I don't want to be a Goslin. I'm saying,
Well,
If
you
you
might
turn
be-
another
you might
bottle,
be a
because
Goslin
my
on the whole
son,
thing.
no, the Chiddush should be, you're not a Goslin, the whole thing could be. Right.
Right.
Now,
But if I return it because I needed it for a short time, and then I picked up a new one at the store, I returned a brand new one to him, and I'm out of the Parshat Goslin also.
Right, right.
So there are other ways, without having to tell him.
Yeah.
I just get another one.
Why, he wanted me to
Yeah,
know?
but in the meantime, you chayiv anointing
Why
on
is
the one
that?
that you
No, you can't buy a
started.
new one and replace it. The temple.
Same, I'm saying, it's the same exact thing. I
You
just
need
need
to tell him.
You have to tell him though.
The Chiyuv HaShava by Gzela is requires das bottle.
Right, that's if you're returning the same bottle.
Kol Chomer if it's a different bottle.
It's the same everything. Because you're returning, no, because we said the difference was,
Even the hammer. I took the hammer, I used it, but I want to put it back, I have to tell him. That's a halacha. We pass in the Rabbi Akiva that Gzela requires das bailing for Hashava.
right, so even like the case of the liquor, we said, even if you just lift it up, it's ilu you
Well,
consumed it.
no.
So returning another,
Not really. No. Lifting it up with no use, no das to use it.
no, you take it out and whatever, okay, you have das to use, you bring it to your party, whatever it is. You
Yeah.
take it out, so if I return with a different bottle, in other words, the same exact bottle, but it's not that bottle.
I understand, but even forget the different or exact same. The point is that that in order to undo a gzela, you need to tell the owner that you're putting it back. So now, and I'll tell you why. Very simple reason. Okay. The Pesach Tshuva explains the reason for this. It's very simple. The reason is that normally you could say, well, I'm the shomer. Right now, I'm acting on behalf of the owner when it comes to this bottle. So therefore, why can't I just be b'charike? Why can't I just be b'mokum the owner, and I'm accepting it on behalf of the owner? I'm in charge of this bottle, and therefore, if I go ahead now and accept the bottle on behalf of the owner, so it's like I'm accepting it on behalf of the owner. So what's wrong? Well, why do I have to tell the owner? The answer is because you violated your Shmira. The owner doesn't want you to be a shomer anymore. Once you violated his Shmira, then you can't be the guy that's accepting it on his behalf. Okay? Therefore, says the Pesach Tshuva in answer to the Shach, to the Ramah. The Ramah says a very strange halach. He says, if you took it al das to steal it, you're a gazan, you have to tell the owner. If you took it al das to steal even 2 ounces, you're a gazan on the whole bottle, you have to tell the owner. But if you took it al das to use the hammer, you're also a gazan. Oh, there you can put it back. Why? You're a gazan. So the Pesach Tshuva explains that the answer is like this. We're talking about a case that you left you the whole toolbox. You picked up the whole toolbox, al das only to use the hammer. So he says you're still a shomer on the rest of the toolbox. Since you're still a shomer on the rest of the toolbox, then it comes out that the owner does still trust you. Still trusts you on this toolbox.
We're making up whether or not he trusts him.
Well, that's
Because
why
he has
it's
no
not
idea
that-
what's going on.
Right. But the
You
idea
know
is
you
that
took
once
one
you're
item-
Goslin, we can't assume that you're acting on his behalf anymore. But in the case where you're still a shomer on part, so now I am acting on his behalf. Once I'm acting on his behalf, I can accept back the hammer on his behalf also.
If he's not okay with me watching the hammer, why would he be okay with him watching the wrench?
Because I doesn't want it to be on because I have no chivayitzim on the wrench. So why I shouldn't be a shomer? He wants me to be a shomer, right?
I'm not sure I do.
What do you want? This toolbox is in my
Right,
jurisdiction.
I want my stuff not to get stolen.
Well,
You're bifurcating the das. The das is if he would know about the hammer, he wouldn't agree to the other stuff. So it doesn't.
Forget knowing. The point is,
That's
that
like
once you
saying there
become
are
a
2
Goslin-
bottles of wine. I took one, so he only has an issue of
Leave
one. That's the
leave
other
the
one.
word das out of it.
If you would
Leave
ask
the
the
word
guy, he
das
has no
out of it.
idea it was stolen. If you would ask the guy, do you want him to be a shomer? He's like, of course I want him to be a shomer. So what
No,
are we saying?
so-
Well, if he would have known,
So leave das out of it. The bottom line is, once you're a Goslin, you're not acting on his behalf anymore. You're acting on your
so I'm
own.
not actually has done anything.
Once
then.
if I'm still a shomer on part of it, so now I am acting on his behalf for the part where it came from, which is the hammer, which is the toolbox. And once I'm still a shomer on the toolbox, then returning it to the toolbox is considered returning it to the owner because the guy with the toolbox look, I am still a shomer, and therefore I can accept the hammer back into the toolbox on behalf of the owner.
Okay, so
That's what that's what the Pesach Shul wants to answer for the Ramah. So again, let's just chazor over this and we'll ask the question. There's three ways to become a Gaza. Take the whole thing away from the owner, take part of it from the owner, or just using it even without consuming it. So the halacha in all these cases is that once you become a Gazlan, you cannot just put it back in the closet and be safe. You have to redo your whole Shmira. You have to tell the owner, listen owner, I stole it, I'm gonna put it back. Are you okay with that? Yeah, I'm okay with that. And then become a shomer again, and now I'm a shomer again. If the Ramah, according to the Pesach Shul, is saying one point, that if you never became a Gazlan on all of it, you only became a Gazlan on the hammer, but you're still a shomer for him on something else, then since you still have a shame shomer for him, then you could accept even the hammer back for on behalf of the owner, and you can reestablish your shmira that way. Again, this is a big chiddush. The Shach argues on this whole thing, but this is the chiddush that the Pesach Shul wants to explain to the miyashiv the Ramah. Okay, now
realistically, if a guy's a shomer sacher, and he steals the object, and then he puts it back, and he sends a message to the owner that he put it back. So the owner, Al Teshuvah Zela, that's fine. Al redoing the Shmira, he never said he was okay with him watching it. So now that it's Kaneva Aveda and it gets stolen,
you can be a shomer. But then
he's not shomer at all. He just happens to be your stuff happens to be in my house. So like now it's I guess
no.
Not a shomer.
No. You're returning it is when you tell the owner, I stole it, I'm going to return it back. The reason he's okay with that is because
he might not be okay with that. I don't know. I sent him a message.
But he's not okay with it, then it doesn't work.
But I'm sure that Zale works.
No, you have to because
so
why?
Pick it up.
You can't tell. Hold on. If you steal something, okay, then you drop it off in middle of the circle, right in the middle of 175th Street at 10th Avenue. I take the item, I put it right in the middle of the circle, and I text. By the way, your item is over there. Oh, is Makayim Heshav Zexel? No, Heshav Zexel only works.
You left it.
Only.
I'm putting back where you left it.
It's only where you left it if I'm a shomer. I left it for shomer. I didn't leave it in your house as Stam. So it has to be that you're re-establishing the Shmira, although it's not back where I left it. I left it in a shomer place, not in a place without a shomer. So therefore, it's only considered that the Bailo accepted it.
So the Bailo could just simply say, no, I'm not Makabal. You have to give it back to me in 2 years when I come back. You have to give it back to me until now.
You could say that. Why are you having so much rachmanos on the shomer? The guy stole it.
Because then we're not giving him an avenue to return it. What? We're not giving him an avenue to return it.
It's always like that.
When you steal something,
if you steal something, then it's on you. Yelech achar afilu madai, right? The Gemara says it's on you. It's on you.
Don't steal things.
So
if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. That's what we're talking about.
Okay. So
this is a guy who's coming and admitting that he stole something. We're telling him don't admit it, basically. Well, you don't admit it. If it gets stolen, you guys I had nothing to do with this. It got stolen. I'm done. I mean, it was Onis. Because it was Onis. A tree fell in the house. I'm done.
You're right. But guess what? When a person comes to Bezin and says it was Onis, you make him make a shavua that he wasn't shalach yad. That's one of the shuvuas. It's one of the things we have to verify. There's no shlichus yad. Okay. Just to compare this halacha, I want to go to Sivav, which is on page 49. Just you'll see what we're talking about. It says this thing in Sivav. It says Amafkin chaves eitzel chaveroi. You gave the barrel of wine to your friend. Whether the owner was specified a place or not. Sometimes maybe the owner will come. Maybe the owner will come and say, when he, the owner of the item, when he asked you to be shomer it, he could have been asked you to be shomer it in a specific place or not a specific place. You have a wine cellar in your house. So either I told you to keep it in your wine cellar, or I just told you, stop aside, wherever you want to keep it. V'tiltal l'tzarkai. And the shomer moved it around for his own benefit, v'nishbara, and it broke. Bein kaidim shechazir olam kaima. Whether it broke before you put it back, or even if acha shechazir olam kaima, even after you put it back, Chayiv l'shalim. He has to pay. He has to pay. Because again, like we're saying, you become a Gazan. Once you're a Gazan, you have to pay no matter what. V'im tiltala l'tzarka. Ben shenishba mitat yotzei mishenishba mishenishba makamakapat. If you moved it for the benefit of the barrel, that's different. Because the barrel was getting sunny, it wasn't a good spot, I had to move it, that's okay. Okay? Tiltala l'tzarka makoyma chayiv b'pshia u'poter ba'insim. And what happens if you moved it in between? You weren't going to use it, but it's not for the benefit of the barrel. You moved it because that space doesn't work for you anymore. So you just moved it to another space. So then it seems like that's not called shlichus yad, and you're potter. Okay. Okay, but anyway, same point I'm just saying is that this idea that once you become a shliach yad, you cannot get away with returning it to that space, which ends up being a davar chomer. Okay? Now, Sif Beis. Let's go to page 47. Similar idea. The whole thing starts when we made a kinyan on it. So you have to pick it up, which is a kinyan. Now you brought it into your shus al das to use part of it. Then you're chayiv on the whole thing like a gazan. But let's say you did a chap thing. I don't want to make a kinyan. So what do? You go to the cupboard, whatever. It's on the shelf. And you tilt the barrel, you pour out a cup, and you put it back. You never made a kinyan on the barrel. So you're chayiv on the 2 ounces you stole, but you're not chayiv on the rest of the barrel. Because you never made a kinyan on the whole barrel. Okay? If you picked it up, chayiv afilu l'natal, you're chayiv right away, like we said. The person will have a whole discussion. At what point do you become, when you took a barrel and you took 2 ounces, at what point do you become chayiv on the rest? Is it only by something which there's some sort of, we look at it like one unit? Well, like your case, let's say you have a toolbox, and the items in the toolbox have no shaykhis to each other, and you picked up the whole toolbox just to use the hammer. Do you become a gazan on the whole toolbox now? Or just the hammer? Because really the rest of the toolbox is nothing to do with the hammer. By a barrel, we don't distinguish. It's one barrel, and you give a gazan on the barrel. But in the toolbox is a suffix. Okay, fine. I don't want to focus on that too much right now, but that's a question. Okay? In Sif Gimel, we point out a point, which is, on a case of a barrel, there's a whole nother issue, which is that a barrel has a much longer shelf life before you open it than after you open it. So if you opened the barrel and took out 2 ounces, then even if you didn't make a kinyan, the minute you open it, if he comes back and it's spoiled, then some of you are mamash mazik. Forget the whole Shmira, forget everything. Some of you open the barrel and it caused it to spoil, no matter how much you took. So it's pretty obvious halacha. Huh?
Bottle of wine.
Right.
You take a little off the top to aerate it, and then you let it sit for a little bit. So you open up a barrel and you take a little bit off, and it starts to aerate the process, which means it starts over time. The clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking now.
Right.
Now he comes back, he loses his barrel, then you mazik him straight up. So therefore, it's obvious that in the case where whatever you did caused long-term damage to the item, it's obvious that you have to pay, and that's not medini shmira, that's medini mazik, which is relatively obvious.
But when he's happened to it?
What?
When he's happened to it before you came back?
Is it
What did I damage him?
Listen, so you want to know if it only happened before it was hech mitzvah?
No, before he came back. Before the Chametz also, but
No,
before he came back.
No, once it's hech mitzvah, you're mazikin.
Right.
He didn't lose anything.
What?
He didn't lose anything.
Yeah, it doesn't
Schrodinger's
matter. You're
wine
mazik.
barrel.
No, the second you're mazik a guy, you don't say, you can't go spill out all his wine, but then say, well, listen, Lamaisa, my whole apartment got destroyed.
That was the case with the coconut that fell off the car.
Right.
Right.
No, once you're mazik, you have to pay for the hezek. So if I hear your case in a case where the clock started ticking, it would have spoiled.
They say already the value of the wine is diminished now. Once you can't sell it, market value is lower.
Right, it could be. I don't know what the market was. I mean, you would have to sell you can't sell wholesale, you have to sell to a retailer. In other words, the way you would sell it would be a different type of use. Okay? Sif Dalet is a fascinating sif. Sif Dalet and Hay. Do we have time today for it? Yeah.
Do you pay him the market value of the day that you took it, even though he wasn't selling for another 2 weeks, it would have been less?
So market value, if there's a whole sugya. When you're sholach yad, do you pay for the old value, the new value, the future value? That's a sugya, which I think we'll get into, but it's not this week. A siv daled and hay is an unbelievable siv. The Gemara says that we learn all these halachas from a pasuk, a kol devar pesha. So the Gemara has a havamina that if you said in front of Aiden that you're going to be sholach yad, you're chayiv already from the time that you said it. Right? So this is an unbelievable halacha. So you said to somebody that you're going to sholach yad, you're chayiv for that? Look at Siv Dalet, page 47, last line in the Mechaber. Omar sheroitz, Omar, he said, sheroitzel lishloach yad b'pikadin, einoi chayiv, avo pishomer came b'pnei Aiden. What's the havamina? If I tell everyone in this room that right after this shir I'm going to steal someone's car, so you have to tell me a sif in Shulchan Aruch that if I didn't, I'm potter? I mean, what's the havamina? Why would I think that because I said it, I'm chayav? So I think the answer is because the bottom line of sholach yad is, I think this is the yesod that we have to remember. The bottom line of sholach yad is, this whole idea is that you violated the trust of the owner, and the owner doesn't want you to be his shliach anymore. You're no longer acting on behalf of the owner as a shomer. A shomer is a trustworthy guy, and you're acting on behalf of the owner. By being sholach yad and taking it for yourself, the Torah understands that you're no longer trustworthy. You're no longer acting on behalf of the owner. So your whole Shmira is in question. You're not a shomer anymore unless you reinstate it. So maybe there will be a havamina that alone that you stand in front of Aiden, hey, there's two guys in your house, to Aiden, my friend's making a big vort tonight, and then take this bottle. At that point right away you become a gazlan. Because at that point right away, it's in your rishus. Why is it in your rishus? It's in your rishus because you want it, not because you're watching it for him anymore. You're already violating the terms of the Shmira, possibly in the havamina. It's only havamina. But you're violating the terms of the Shmira by that alone, that you're not holding it on his behalf. You're holding it for yourself now. You just didn't get around to it yet. But
It should have to do with when you decided, not when you told people.
well, it could be, but if you decide, then Tosfos deals with that actually at the end of a mafkid. Because in a lot of times in the Torah, even though the ikr is the machshava, but it was only chai by dibur. So Tosfos talks about, let's say, pigul. If you check the carbon with das to eat at the wrong time, so it's chai kares. So do you have to say it or you think it? So Tosfos deals with that issue. It's the last Tosfos in a mafkid. It says hach machshava. The lashon of the Mishnah is hachoyshev l'shloach yad. The Tosfos says choyshev means dibur, because it's always like that. Machshav is pigul nami, but you're right. Basically, the dibur is a way to bring out what you're thinking. So the havamina was, which I think is a great shot, is that the minute you already are saying publicly you're not interested, you're willing to steal it for yourself, then you've violated the trust of the Shmira, and now it's in your house. It's not, you're not acting on behalf of the owner anymore. You're acting on your own behalf. So maybe already now you're shlach yad. It's like Gemara, no, you're not. Kamash Malon, no, you're not. There would be such a havamina like that. So there's enough that the Shulchan Aruch has to say that it's not called gzela. If I announce in this room I'm going to steal a car, I have no shaykhis to that car to become a gazlan on it until I steal it. But here, the item's in my house. The item's in my house. I already took it from the owner. Just what makes me not a gazlan is that I'm holding it on his behalf. But if I'm not holding it on his behalf, I'm holding it for myself. Maybe that I can become a gazlan. And that's the chiddush that you're not. Now, sifhei, sifhei is a whole nother issue, a whole nother thing, which is that is the aware, familiar. I'll introduce the concept today. Maybe it's a geschmack concept, so we'll deal with it next week also. But the oil knows the rule. Ein shliach l'dvar avera. Ein shliach l'dvar avera means I can't make a shliach to do an avera for me. If I send someone to do an avera and they do it, the shliach is chayiv, not the one that sent them. The person that did the avera is chayiv. There's only two exceptions in the whole Torah, where if you send someone to do an avera, you're chayiv. The one that sent the shliach is chayiv for the Avera. One of them is Megillah, and the other one is Shlichus Yad, this parsha. That if you send someone to go use the barrel, you're chayiv as a Shalach Yad. Okay, and that's the next sefer. Shalach Yad al Yodrei. Oy. Al Yidei Shluchoi, Harei Ze Gazlan, and the chayiv Einstein. Okay, so even if you didn't do it yourself, you did it with a shliach, so you're not even home, and you sent someone. You say, "Hey, I have this great bottle in my house. Go pick it up. It's in the cupboard. Go bring it to the l'chaim." You become a shliach yad. You don't say, "Well, he stole it, not me." And that's a chiddush in shliach d'arver. Maybe we'll see more details about it.
Even if he didn't know, he's just to pick up this bottle for me and bring
Okay,
it.
so that's the Sma says. We're talking about a case he didn't know. We'll talk about the details of that. But
And if he changes his mind, he's still quiet.
But
He has machshava and he says it in front of Adam and he changes his mind. He's still